Good morning and welcome to the Finance and Committee Advisory Committee meeting of February 27th. Ed, why don't we take you first, since you're the teeny-weeniest budget. What, I can't hear you.
Where is he? He's like one item on.
I don't know where it is in the budget. Is it? Where is it?
Budget detail,
It's-
page 4 of 8. Oh, there's a separate tab, like?
No,
Look at there he is.
it's the line item.
Is he his own line item?
Yeah.
Oh, Historical Commission, there it is.
That's a whopping, what?
$500.
Woo! That's a big one.
Yeah.
And he's
Actually, I was gonna take all of maybe 5 minutes and let you know what's happened or where we're hopefully going for next year.
Okay.
Last year, out of that $500, we purchased a $300 recording device for meeting notes. It's not always available, the secretarial recording for our minutes. A number of our members are employed, they're out of town for days at a time, which would be easier to simply record what's necessary, so we ended up purchasing that. We would require about $250 for lawn maintenance. This is for the schoolhouse that we have right next to the Georgetown Historical Society, Captain Brocklebank House. This historic schoolhouse is on private property, although the schoolhouse itself is controlled by the Historical Commission. We have agreed with them to at least cover the cost of maintaining the lawn in the area and the grounds. So that's come out of our $500 budget. This year, as I said, we need, because we had purchased that recording device, we need some peripheral microphone and mixers and adapters for the mixers and that sort of thing, and that will come to another $250 or thereabouts. Hopefully, we're going to get that purchased prior to the deadline, which is what, July 1st. The money diverts back to the town, so that will be needed at that time. One thing we're not able to do, we should have a couple members available to go to these Mass Historic Commission seminars, so we can try to obtain available state grants and that sort of thing. Those are about $125 to get the people over there to Boston and attend the meeting. With this minimum funding, we're not often able to attend these seminars. I'm going to ask you for a slight increase in our budget. This isn't probably a good time to ask for an increase, I'm sure. I'll give you an example, for instance. With the money now gone, a great deal in time and effort has gone into preserving a 216-year-old 1800 colonial revival historic house. It's called the John Palmer House, and it's at 2 Tenney Street. It's where Charlie and Dot Blanchard used to live for, 65 years or so. It's a 5-acre parcel. The developer has purchased this, and he wants to put in new housing in a historic area. There's already 9 houses in this area called the Marlborough section. It's in East Georgetown. When the houses were built, this was still part of West Rowley. Georgetown hadn't even been founded at that point. We've been working with the Boston Mass Historic Commission, sent them some 90 photographs with a lot of documentation. We feel the house is very historic, should not be taken down, and should be kept, or if they could sell the house itself, keep the other 4 acres and develop their houses. I think we've been able to convince them that that's the way to go.
You have been able?
So far, we have been able to. The Mass Historic Commission sent us a 3-page document listing the building as eligible to be on the National Register of Historic Places. So working with the developer and the contractor to preserve the structure, as I said, some 50 photos have been taken, comments have been made regarding the photos. Rick Ditweller, who is a preservation architect here in town, has volunteered his time and effort taking the photographs. I put a package together for the state. The state finds it that it is eligible to be preserved. Rick has spent about $500 freebie so far, so we've been very fortunate in that area. But we can't live on this $500 that we've got. I mean, we're asking people to do things for free and maintain this and maintain that. So I'm going to ask for between $300 and a $500 increase. We could easily use $1,000 a year for the work that we do. And just as an example, this was that one thing on 210 Street that, you know, it wouldn't have
There are
happened.
things that you could have done to.
Yeah,
Okay.
and things like that. There are other things that are similar. So we're hurting for money
Yeah, you've been at 500
for a long
a
time.
while. Yeah. Okay. We'll throw it in the pile.
Other than that, that is my.
It's not a lot.
my-
It's, you know, in the sum total of things, it's
Yeah.
not going to break the
Okay.
bank.
I have some notes if you wanted to hold on to those, but you've got the information I just gave you. So.
Yeah. Okay, you can leave it. Just leave it there with Mike.
You got it.
Okay, Edward. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay. All right. How about Deb? She's been here a while.
Okay, so our budget was going to stay the same for the Board of Health.
Jim, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
since we're on television and we have some new members, I think introductions might be in order.
Oh. Okay. Sorry.
He's forgetting.
Well, you know, it's an age thing.
And I don't think all the board members know all the department heads either.
Okay,
Okay. So why don't we go around again?
Again?
Starting
Oh, hi.
with Ashley.
My name's Ashley Pearson.
Robin O'Malley?
John Anderson.
Wayne Snow?
Jim Lacy.
Joe Bonafide.
Adobe.
and I'm Deborah Rogers with the Health Agent for the Board of Health. This is Mike, yeah. I know.
Yeah, I'm Mike Farrell.
Yeah, the one who instigated it.
Okay, so our operating expense budget was, for the Board of Health, was going to stay the same, except we're actually gonna decrease $5,500 for the household hazardous waste days at this time. We did not hold one the last 2 years because Pembroke School was in construction and that was our area. And then after kind of having a discussion with Mike and everything, realizing that we're trying to decrease budgets as much as possible, we thought Newbury has been, the last 2 years, the town of Newbury has been willing to have Georgetown residents go there. So anybody who has called in the past 2 years, we've actually told them that they can go to the Newbury Elementary School, which is every October in the fall. We have a date, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so at this time, maybe, I mean, we would love to redo it again. We had great outcome, and it's something that the Board of Health would not want to take off forever, but
Right.
at this time, I mean,
Okay.
you know, if
That's great. Okay.
so that's the only changes.
What line item is that?
That is, I have it under groundskeeping,
Okay.
because that's, I forget it's.
So that line item goes to zero then. in
Goes to
your
zero
budget.
from the 5,500 at this time, and like I said, if at some point we could get that back, that would be wonderful, because it is a great thing for the town.
Yes,
We would love
yeah.
it. And then the only other changing was in the personnel. It went, actually increased 1,277 for our animal inspector. Holly Willard, who was our animal inspector since 1997, who was wonderful, retired last June. It was hard, we couldn't find anybody to come, I mean, it had never raised in, almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did find a great vet tech who's now our new animal inspector. Her name's Christina Lehman. The board had voted back in October to approve at $5,000 for her to be our new animal inspector.
One thing Deb and I have talked about, and I think I mentioned to you, Jim, the other day, that her largest line item, other purchase services, 20,000 of that is for testing the groundwater at the landfill. And that's, we have to test it twice a year, and it's about $10,000 a shot.
It's quarterly.
Quarterly.
It's
okay.
quarterly, yes, so.
And we have, if we could actually cut that in half if we request the state, but we have to show them that, the leakage, there's no leakage into the groundwater, or very little. It would cost about $20,000 for an engineering study, but we would pay that back in 2 years.
In 2 years, yeah.
And then save $10,000 forever. What I'd like to suggest, and this is the first time the Board of Selectmen are hearing this too, that we had a warrant article we'll get a quote, but right now we're just thinking about $20,000 to pay for the study.
Because you've, over the years, have requested, and they.
Well, what's happened through the years is we had to have so many good studies, and we hadn't had that. And then we could have applied last year, but we were trying to see if we could not reinvent the wheel and hire a study, because Newbury just did it and got their reduction. But it's we're gonna kind of copy paste type of thing,
Yeah.
but it's a little beyond. So we would have to hire someone.
Okay.
And then the state actually, and then afterwards I called DEP, but the gentleman that actually overrides and decides and everything had retired in June, and they haven't replaced him. So it's kind of, everything is in limbo, but we would definitely need an independent study on it, because it's just beyond. So, but we were hoping that we
How
would
many years
have
have we
to.
gone
Without anything. It's been over 5 now, and that's what they require, so.
And is that pretty much what the criteria is, that they would cut it down if it's
They
5
would,
years?
it's like, again, in Newbury, they cut everything in, in half.
Yeah.
They saved approximately about $9,000 because of the fact is they actually added a couple of other testings. So they said, well, we'll take away this, but we're gonna add this, but they still saved
Still
9,000
$9,000,
annual.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, right, so that definitely would like to look into that and get that, going if possible.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
You said it needs to be retested every 5 years?
No, our samples have to be consistent for 5 years before you can even apply for this reduction from the state. So that's how that works. So,
Okay. Any questions? I think we're
all
good.
right. Well, thank you very much. All right, thanks.
How about Steve? He was here, early.
Is this conservation?
Yeah, conservation, I'm sorry, conservation.
Steve Pajemski, Conservation Agent. Total requested budget is 83,288. 80,000 of that's for staff, myself, and I have an assistant, and 3,000 for expenses. On that 3,000, it sounds kind of silly. You probably don't get this often. Because of some work Mike's done with the filing system in the basement, I could probably give up 500 of that for the historic. I heard earlier that they're looking for 500. So we have to buy probably. We have to price. That's why I said it, 'cause he left. So we buy about 2 file cabinets
Steve,
a
I'm on the
year.
historic commission.
You're on the record.
So we buy a file cabinet or 2 a year, and they're $400 or $500 each.
Oh, okay.
I don't foresee buying those for the next 2 or 3 years, because of a lot of the work Mike's done with CPC money and the filing system.
Yeah.
So I could
yeah.
actually work with you on that if that
Oh,
if that
okay.
helps.
Oh, that, wonderful.
Mike asked me to kind of present some of the kind of the money generated and some of the money we have in our accounts. So if you're not familiar, I'm one of the few departments that a lot of my fees that come in get put into revolving accounts, kind of under the Conservation Commission, not into the general fund. So in the bylaw revolving account, I have $77,000 right now. And last year we brought in about $8,000 in fees. So that in the past, the FinCom has asked to take some of that money towards my salary, things like that.
I think that's very
After
likely.
it becomes
Very likely again
but after
this
a few
year.
years, that's not sustainable, so they go
Right.
back to 100% town funded.
Right,
And then a few
right.
years later, it builds
It
up
went
like it is
back.
today, and you guys have a rough year, you take some of it back, so I pretty much am expecting that.
Yeah.
My commission would tell me to fight you, but
Oh,
it
well,
is-
you can.
it is what it is.
Feel free.
70, so there's actually two revolving, 77,000 in one of them.
Is the balance, right?
Is the balance, and the other one is less. I think it's 30,
Yeah, it was 20 or 30.
20 or
as I
30.
recall.
But the problem with that other one is it's a state revolving account. So we
Right.
have two hats. We do local wetlands and state wetlands. You really can't touch that
Oh,
state
okay.
one because it's designated for enforcing the State Wetland Protection Act. The other one's the local, which is more, it's more
And you, what
accessible.
did you say it brings in last year brought in 8?
yes. We also brought in $15,000 worth of fines last year, but that goes into the general fund. So it doesn't really get
okay.
so it doesn't even show up in my. I
Yeah,
actually didn't
yeah.
put in my budget or show it in it just because it.
Right.
That's already
It's gone.
included in our revenue.
Correct.
Yeah, it's department revenue.
Is that an annual number, or was that an unusual?
No, last year I think it was 5,000.
There's a lot of building, like with the turning leaf and things like that.
No, that 15,000 is a fine for
Fines.
violation of the
Fines.
Wetland Protection Act and local regulations. The 8,000 is our fees for
Okay.
turning leaf and projects like
Oh,
that.
okay.
The 15,000 was actually a fine, one fine. Last year, that 5,000 was probably 2 or 3 different situations that happened.
Yeah, we don't,
You don't count that.
we
really.
don't budget for fines.
Yeah.
It just
It's just-
basically finds
yeah.
its way to free cash.
So it's just more
Oh,
informational
I
to let you know, what's coming out of my department for different ways and how it gets there.
Steve, what did we put in last year for his salary?
20. I mean, did we take out, you mean?
Yeah, and put into
20.
revolving.
20.
It's budgeted at full
Right now.
Right.
full freight right now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And again, given that we're only putting in roughly 8,000, I mean, we all know
Yeah.
it's not sustainable,
We know,
but
yeah.
we say this every year. Every other year it changes back and forth, so pretty much is what it is.
We budgeted in and then we see what we have to do.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Steve? No, I think we're good. We're definitely gonna take that money, I think, so.
I knew that before I got here.
Thanks, Dave.
That money back.
Thanks for filing.
We actually put that money back.
We have to, at some point, we have to put it back.
It's
Jan,
gone back and
you-
forth.
Huh?
It's gone in, gone out.
Yeah, I mean, like a
know
lot
it
of
sits
things,
there.
you try to not do that, but.
Right. All right, 18.
Hi,
Town
Green, Town
clerk,
Clerk.
Jan McGrain.
Yep, the only increase I'm asking for this year is in my election expense because we have one extra election this year.
Right.
Yes, we did.
So-
You have no control over that.
No,
How much is-
that's,
how much is that?
that's 21,050, what I have in mind. I think that's another candidate for us to fund some other way. We're trying to hold on to free cash and do
The
things like
21,000 is for,
It's for the elections. There's a primary and
Right.
a national.
has it always gone under temporary wages?
Well, that's
temporary.
just for the poll workers because they are temporary
Yeah.
workers.
Yeah, I guess.
I
yeah.
thought, I
We
didn't
just
realize
started
it's
that
always
last
been.
year.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it hasn't been there.
Hasn't
It's
always been there.
It's been in other categories.
Oh, it's been under wages.
All right.
But still, I mean, that's a candidate, I think.
I think it was under purchase services.
Oh, was
Yeah,
it really?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Last
that.
year, we did have it in the
Okay.
temporary. It's all part of the still to be implemented
Right.
chart of accounts.
Okay.
Right.
Because I'm like,
Oh,
why
you
is
don't
it
have-
up there? It
Almost
didn't used to be.
implemented, I should say. They keep pushing it month by month.
Forgot about that.
Okay, so 21,050, that's not just for, how much is the amount for the national election primary? in the election?
How much is it? Well, I just divide by 3.
Divided by 3, okay, all right.
Oh, so I'm sorry, so the whole thing isn't,
It's-
So we
right.
can
Yeah, the
only-
whole
we can
21
only
isn't one
do-
election, that's the 3, that's the
That's
wages for the
13.
3 elections.
oh, okay, all right, yeah, yeah.
So we can only
Good
really take
point.
2/3.
So we can take 13 out of that and pay for it some other way, okay.
Other than that, the rest of my line items are all the same, I haven't
What's
increased
the,
anything
other purchase services that went up 4?
for the extra election. It's like I still have to buy like, you know.
So that's like ballots and.
Well, it's like the, you know, the extra ink cartridges, seals, the batteries, the locks,
Okay.
the,
Yeah, there's another 4, yeah,
you know.
okay,
Okay,
beautiful.
all right, just making sure.
Any increase in communications? Did I miss what you said there?
In the we are increasing a little bit on the postage for next year because the state has now adopted early voting, and that starts next November. So it's no excuse, early voting. Anybody can ask for a ballot, and we have to mail them out to them.
So it's no longer absentee, it's called early voting?
Early voting. Anybody can do it. No excuse, no reason, just early voting. So we have to have voting for 10 days in the office prior to the election. Probably including.
Every election?
No, just the general election, like in November. It's not gonna be for town elections.
Okay.
And it's not the primary.
And it's not the primary, no, just November, so.
It's just 1,000.
I put a little extra money in there because just absentee voting, the last presidential, we sent out 1,100 absentee vote ballots. So we're anticipating with no excuse, we're gonna be probably doubling what we're sending out. So I put in for some more postage.
Phil?
Mr. Chair, hey, can I just ask a question? Can those be sent out electronically, just from?
No.
No, they have to be mailed?
Yeah, the only ones that go electronically are what they call like the UOCAVA, the special, which is overseas. The locals don't go that way.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Silly.
Well, only because it's like the privacy thing. It's like if you do it through the email, email becomes public. So you have to assign a waiver for privacy. So I don't believe the state will let us do it that way. Right now, they're not
I'm
saying
sure
this.
eventually they will.
Oh, eventually, we probably all stay home and be able to vote from
Yeah,
home.
yeah. Well, you might get more people voting. You know, I'm not sure that's a bad thing. Okay, unless there's other questions. Anybody? No? You're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
How about Council on Aging?
It's not gonna be good.
We're gonna be done by noon time
I don't think so.
here.
It's Council on
Morning.
Aging.
Good morning.
I'm Colleen Ranshaw Fiorillo. I'm the Council on Aging Director. So I brought some of my annual reports, as well as our most recent edition of A Few Gray Hairs, some of which I know some of you do receive at home, but just in case you don't.
Don't rub it in.
It's an advance copy if you haven't received it yet. So this has been an exciting year for us. You know, we've had a lot of wonderful progress with our new opportunity at Pearlie School. We have an operational agreement in place between the town and the school committee for the use of the 5 of the 7 classrooms in the former kindergarten to first grade wing. And we now have a general contractor as of last week, right? Or we
we do.
opened our
That's
bids, so we do. And we've had a fabulous architect working with us on design, and it's a very exciting opportunity for the town. And so the budget somewhat reflects some of that change, because we did need to include, as part of the operational agreement, that we would have maintenance and custodial costs that the school will actually be providing with us. Correct? The
Yes.
school, but it's reflected in our budget. So that's the increase that you see in other property-related services. And when we were asked to look at the next 3 years, I tried to factor, you know, what that might be in terms of potential increase. The other thing I still included under rental and leases, but since we don't anticipate that we will be through the project until, well, we had thought September, but now we're thinking perhaps October, and in the contract, we've actually said November 16th. So we'll still need to rent some space from the church, from the First Congregational Church, until that time. They've been very kind to us and have said that they will do a month-to-month lease after the fiscal year. So that was helpful to us because I didn't want to enter into a long-term lease with them, but I couldn't tell them when we would be done.
Yeah,
I just
no,
don't
that
know.
is nice.
So that was really thoughtful. I appreciated that. But also in that rental and lease line, I included the potential cost of leasing a copier. So, because once we move, we'll need a copier as well. So that's,
When we heard about this, Wayne and I were wondering, aren't there copiers in that building anyway, or you just
that
don't
would
have
not be
access to
available
them?
to us. They have, the school department would have its own copier, but, I mean, this will be a senior center facility. We need to be self-sufficient in our own place. We do have some, I have a desktop copier for my computer so that
Yeah.
I can print something personal, but we do need to be able to do packages and print, double-sided and collate and,
Okay.
some of the,
How much,
I'm sorry?
How much printing do you actually do?
We do
of that?
considerable
Do you-
amount of printing.
Do you?
I still don't understand why they can't. It's a wireless building. You
Excuse
just
me?
tell the printer on the other side of the building to print the stuff, and it will, as long as the paper's in the printer, it does it.
We need to be able to have that available within the senior center. We need to be able to maintain that. I'm constantly printing in terms of case management. If we're looking for services for people, you have to print information for them or printing documents that they need. We do a tremendous amount of case management. That's a lot of
Your
assistance.
desktop printer do that?
No, not at that, it's just not, it's not efficient. I mean, it's no longer, if you're working with, one person and you print one copy, and certainly there are times when I want to print something for somebody, or I'm receiving something that's personal and confidential, I don't want it necessarily going to the mailroom, and I'll use my desktop copier at that time. But we're also printing packets for people, that we're putting together, guidelines, or, we're, no matter what, if it's food assistance or fuel assistance, I don't need just one copy of it. I've got people coming that I need multiple copies, so.
So it's
All
got,
of that's
your
involved.
printings, you constantly, this is like once or twice a day you would go over
No.
to, you're doing it
No,
constantly.
Mike can talk about the amount of time I spend going back and forth to the mailroom in front of the office.
Okay, all right.
It's considerable.
Okay.
But that's a good thing, because that means that people are coming forward. So it's just part of doing business in the world that we live in. I really didn't make any other changes, other than, the other piece that I had included was, under supplies, that we were gonna need to be able to purchase some tables and, some chairs. And I had a list of things that I.
Is that what the 4,100, almost
Yes.
$4,200?
Yes, yeah.
These are one-time purchases?
First.
The one time, so there's another
Precisely.
possibility of
Yes.
moving that somewhere else.
And, and it's entirely possible
Put something
that
else.
we might receive some donations as we move forward. This will be a nice opportunity for the Friends to maybe network with some of the business community and say, we'll name a table for somebody if they want to buy us a table. There are going to be some pieces of equipment available. Mike Anderson, again,
I was
very
just gonna say
kindly
the
gathered.
schools,
Yeah, but-
might have.
Yes, they have
Yeah.
some. But, we're gonna need some folding tables, those white, that's what I was talking about, is I said, the 10 6-foot recreational folding banquet tables that are lightweight, that we can, take up and put down. We're also gonna need some lightweight, chairs with arms. Chairs with arms, because there are some chairs without arms at the school that he's saved for us, but,
You need chairs
in
with
terms of ambulation and mobility, we need chairs with arms now.
If I can interject, most of the furniture comes from the middle school.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's
Oh,
kind
the
of
middle
small
school.
the old middle school,
Right.
the old Pembroke school.
The old
The old
Pembroke,
Pembroke.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's a little small, is it? Yeah.
not necessarily for
We're
elders.
only,
right.
we're only gonna take in short senior citizens.
That's right. Well,
You can't come that way,
Hey,
can you?
he owns that.
no, I mean,
do you have a list you can publish on the website?
that it could be a wish list later, yes.
Yeah.
And I can give you the list that I had developed of, I had included in here that it would be nice to be able to buy a treadmill, and, a couple of exercise bikes, and be able to, because there's one room that we will use for exercise programming. We have 2 yoga classes a week, 2 strength training classes a week. We have a walking program. But also it would be nice to have some of those pieces, so if people want to come in and exercise, they could come in and walk on the treadmill. So I included that. I need to buy a coffee maker. I need an electric kettle. The folding tables, and a couple of square tables for cards, that, and that type of game, because it's, again, you want to be able to, establish some center activity areas so that, one room, I literally envision seeing, that we would have a game area where, the things are up in place, craft area that, again, the equipment's in place, we're not constantly breaking down, setting up and breaking down. The second room I plan to use for community education, health education, and then they'll have the exercise place. But that way it's more, at this point, I don't mind, putting tables up and down, but I'm not always going to be the person in this job. And I want it to be sustainable as we move forward. So,
In regards to exercise equipment, are you looking for new, or, because there's a website called Free Cycle where a lot of people put their exercise equipment on, and it's also a good opportunity, I think, if people are downsizing in this town or whatever and want to get rid of some exercise
exactly, and I
equipment.
think once we're in place, I think people have been really kind to begin with, and I could see, that once we're actually there, that we could get some of those calls, just like I do now for the durable medical equipment. I have a commode that we're no longer using. Can I donate that to you? At this point, I wouldn't be able to take the equipment because I don't know where to put it. But I think, going forward, I've already had people saying to me, are you going to need mugs? It's just, people are kind, and I think they'll be helpful.
This town is very generous, I think.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but I thought
I
in
think you're
terms
going to be
of,
able to get a lot of stuff.
but in terms, but not,
Especially if you make a wish list, I think
Oh, yeah,
very
yeah.
specific. So.
right.
A lot of people,
However-
if they know that they have something and they're going to get rid of it,
Right.
they might just hold on to it until you
But
need
these
it.
are just basic needs that I think, we should actually be in an opportunity to buy the tables, because we need to be able to, you need to have some equipment that you can't count on, and then the other is, the other is gravy.
Oh, okay. Well,
So,
I have 2 questions, if
Certainly.
I may. Right now, you're paying
I got a copy of that.
rent or leases to
Yeah.
use other buildings.
to the First Congregational Church.
Right. Where is that reduction reflected in this budget?
Well, that's, as I explained, under, the line 5270, rental and leases. So at this point, we still need to lease into the next year. So we still have to include at least,
But you've got it, is that the 2,400, right?
right.
So
But-
that, we won't be seeing that fiscal 18 or fiscal 19.
But we still will, because that's also the line that includes the copier cost, a rental.
She's leasing the copy.
Yeah, we'll have to lease a
It's a
copy.
big,
Alright.
it's apparently a big
My
copy.
second question is, there's presently a proposal before the CPC to help fund the Council on Aging Center
Second
Curly.
portion of the building
Right,
costs.
and from what we understand from Mike, the costs are probably going, there's a 10% fudge factor in that, or overrun, and also you think you're gonna be able to come in at a lesser rate. Is it possible that a lot of these things that are necessary for the Council on Aging can be put in as fit-up costs and actually taken out of that if there's any money left over?
It really depends on how the warrant article is worded.
Yeah.
It's meant primarily for construction costs, but, and it depends on how finely you want to parse the word, the phrase, and related and incidental costs. Generally, you don't do, purchases for equipment out of that.
Although
It's
you could-
construction related.
Although you could consider fit-up to be part of construction.
But
Because the building is unusable without being fit up to be used. My only question is, I think that is, if it's possible, I think it would be, I would like to see her get the equipment that she needs and also get new equipment.
Well, if the CPC wants to broaden that mandate, then we'll certainly be able to use the money. But,
Okay.
I would look at it in the narrowest sense.
No,
as
I understand.
usually do.
I'm just saying that, we're in the business now of moving money around. And I think that, you know, seeing we're moving into a new council on aging, I really would prefer to see not anybody walking around with a tin cup in their hand looking for donations. And I think if we can do this
If I need to.
and do it just right the first time, I would feel better about that.
Okay.
Well, just ask your fellow CPC members to give us that leeway.
So that's the reason for my question.
Yeah.
You're not that shy, are you?
No,
Ed, you're
no,
on.
nor do I run, am I afraid of running afoul of people either.
I'm sorry, I still can't hear you.
I'm just saying, could you do like a wish list with just gift card requests right now, where you already seem to have found, you know, certain things at Walmart or?
Well, that was, I just tried to look to see where things would be located and so that I would have a real intangible cost to tell you.
But I'm saying,
So-
well, you said you don't have a place, like if I wanted to say donate a treadmill right now, you don't have a place to do it, but I could donate
No, but you're
$160
right,
gift
and
card.
we actually, we do have a donations account. We do have a gift account in place for the town, so, you know, that's also a way that people have, we established that several years ago, and it's been a nice opportunity for, if somebody wants to honor somebody or in memory of somebody, we can accept donations and have that in the account, and that stays with us, so we could access that, you know, in the future too for.
I think what Matt's saying, so you
A
can,
gift
gift
Right
cards,
on
I
the
mean,
wish
right now to
list
sit
on-
there,
on
Yeah.
yeah.
website.
That's a good idea.
I think, yeah, I mean, gift cards are always helpful.
That's a great idea. I
Yeah.
think people would be willing to do that,
Yeah.
give them gift
Yeah.
cards,
Look
yeah,
in the camera
yeah.
and make your pitch right now.
So let's see,
I
so
think
the
we-
stores you're looking for are Staples, Target,
I just,
And
I
Walmart.
gave us.
And
some,
Walmart.
Yeah.
On Sears.
Well, you know, and
Marcus?
the Staples, the projector, projector
Don't
and
hold back.
laptop is that, so that when I have somebody making a presentation, you know, they can have the equipment available, because currently I'll literally put a sheet up on the wall at the church. So, you know, and they can't, if they don't have a projector, I can't use that, so I thought it would be good to be able to have a projector and, yeah.
Could you, in terms of me going to the CPC, is it possible you could give me, I mean, a wish list of things that you would consider to be equipment that you need that is not on this list?
That's the equipment that I'm looking at right now.
But is there a projector on there and
Yes,
everything?
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
yeah,
a
I did.
library projector that frankly you guys could check out and use.
Yeah, I would, at this point, and I appreciate that, but I think we need to own something. We are actually still only at 0.4% of the budget. It's just in terms of going forward.
Mike, if any of these donations, just, purpose, I don't remember, are these tax deductible?
Yes,
These are.
donations
so
to
any
our
donations
gift
to
account are.
Gift account, tax deductible.
There you go.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and our, you know, and our friends have also been very helpful to us, and they are also a 501c3 organization, and they've been very supportive.
Do they have a Facebook page?
No.
Friends of the Li-
No,
of
they
the Li-
don't.
Council on
Friends
Aging?
can't- No, they don't have a Facebook page. But we certainly have their contact information.
I'm just saying if you could get the word out there. Hey,
I'm
David,
not-
I'm sorry,
yeah.
David.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a suggestion that, why don't you connect with Sally Applegate, have her do an article and a list?
There you go.
Let's get this in the paper. Okay. Okay. Well, somebody from the newspaper.
Yes,
Let's get it in the
actually,
newspaper.
yeah, the newspapers too have been very, very helpful. I have been in contact with the newspapers, and the newspapers
okay.
have run, the Georgetown Record and the
Our
Daily
website.
News and the Lawrence Trip have run articles about the building project. They continue to run my press releases on a monthly basis. They publish photos. We communicate in as many ways possible.
Yeah, do you have Facebook, they are on Facebook too?
No, we don't have a social media policy.
Do you want to
The
have
other-
a social
The
media?
other piece, what I
We
wanna-
both have two questions.
Yeah, do you want to have a social media?
well, that would be,
Well, we're,
Something
we're
Oh, you're working on it
working
now.
on
Yes,
it on
yeah.
a townwide
Okay,
basis.
okay, never mind.
yeah.
My other
Oh,
question
okay.
before we get too far is, who do you make the checks out to and where do you mail them?
We have
For a
it is
donation.
literally, the Council on Aging has a gift account, so it's a Council on Aging donations account. And that's right here in Town Hall.
All right, does everybody hear
It's-
that?
So the check is made out to the Council on Aging
I-
gift account?
Donations account.
Donations
Or
account.
gift account. It is a gift account. It says COA donations. I'm certainly glad to give that information in my office if anybody has any questions. But it's, you know, a donations account stays with us, and so
Yep.
we can access it through, the director can, with
Right.
a warrant.
Right, so if someone had $20 and they didn't
Yeah.
wanna go buy something, they could send you a check,
The-
and it's tax deductible.
The donations that come in
There we go.
with our
Look at that.
classes go to the
That's,
town.
that's
as
where
general
social media would be very helpful, I
Well,
think, getting that stuff out
Purple
there.
Mike's working on that.
Yeah.
I did want to explain that, I had still included in the budget moving forward the increase in the staff hours. That, staff is still part-time, still this year. We have one staff member who's still under minimum wage. So I've reflected moving forward that as we got into the new facility, to increase their hours, not necessarily to add staff, but to increase the hours.
Now,
for-
what I have anyway for personnel costs is the 96,922. Does that
That's-
include those extra hours?
That would include the extra hours. We're not at that
Because
right
it's
now.
it's not that much of last year, really.
Well, why does our budget say 82?
It's
Because that's-
wrong. If you go look at the personnel page,
thank
it's
you.
95,489.
But it's not.
That was the amount budgeted last year, but because we delayed,
Oh, okay.
it is the 82.
Oh, 82 was what the
Right.
budget,
Right.
oh, okay. I
But
see.
going forward,
Okay,
I
fine.
think it's important to gain those hours within those positions. And it would more accurately reflect the work that's being done.
So, Mike, what's been increased from the actual
Yeah,
Just-
that-
fiscal year 16 versus budget 17?
The hours of the
Outreach.
outreach and public relations person.
Okay.
Yeah, see, the problem is that the
1 day for them.
14,
And
well, the
and
15, I mean,
driver.
doesn't show up. So we can't see what the additional monies were.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm,
See, it's because
'cause
16 is
14,000.
what it should have been, but it didn't end up being
Right.
that because they didn't do it.
Right.
So
Right, I
that's
see.
what the
Right.
confusion is. We don't have what it was before the hours were increased.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I'll adjust that for our next meeting.
okay. Okay. Any other questions?
no,
No. Colleen? No, everybody's happy. Wait, down the back.
Kevin Moran, Library Trustees. Can I just go back for the Council of Aging on the copy machine? Having worked in schools for a long time, Wayne had asked a question about the copy machines. The school copy machines, that comes out of the school department budget.
Right.
The paper, the maintenance, the copy machine, whether it's a rental or a lease. Plus, a lot of school systems now are going to a code. Each staff member has a separate code, so they can keep track of how much paper
Right.
they're using. So it would be kind of difficult for Council of Aging. My question is it a town agreement for rental and lease on copiers for the entire town, including the school department, or do they have their own separate rental?
No,
and
it's
lease?
separate, huh?
No, unfortunately, the school and we've tried to get on the same leases, but
It means that we'd
we've
be
been
part of the town.
unable to do that.
No, the reason why I'm asking is if you could piggyback the Council of Aging copy machine. The companies love to include.
Oh, yeah, we do that in the town.
Yeah,
The
that's-
police, fire, admin, highway, we're all with the same
Oh, okay.
lease.
Yeah.
But there would still
So
be a
that's why I was
cost to
thinking
this
you might be
budget.
able to get a better deal if Council of Aging found out.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Oh, that is
That
the
is
deal.
the deal.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked at the smaller copier that's in Janet and Mike's office and said, that it's less size than what's the large Toshiba and the mailroom. And that size would provide what we need. And so I looked at what Janet's cost was and included for their lease and
Okay.
included that in our budget
Okay.
to give us at least something that was real.
Okay.
That's one thing, our copy leases, every time they renew, for the last several cycles, they've actually gone down.
Really?
Yeah, the technology gets better and our leases, interest rates have been dropping over the last 6 to 8 years, so
That's true.
we haven't had an increase in copying in years.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. If you have any further questions, then please don't hesitate to, to call or ask. I'm glad to. Or if you've got questions regarding programming or services, please call me.
Okay.
Glad to.
How about library? Because everybody's here.
Thing on the copy machine in my office.
Okay. Sarah Lynch, Library Director. I believe I had sent you both a level service and then a proposal on being open on Thursdays. So I figured I'd go over the level services budget first. That, there are a few increases. One is our salaries, which would be a 1.5% increase.
Right.
The second increase would be our energy. It would be a 1% increase. Usually what I've seen lately is I've been having to take out from state aid the last month's electric bill. So we usually don't have enough in our energy line item. So that's why there's an increase in that. The third increase is the property-related services trash. Our G-Mello trash pickup charge increase, so that reflects that increase right there. And then the other increase is our MVLC network charge, which usually can go up an average of 4% each year, so this reflects that increase as well. And then the last increase is our educational book materials. It always has to be 19% of our operating budget, so that's why there's an increase there as well. And what Mike is passing around that I believe I had sent out as well is level fund options that we could potentially do for the library. So with the level fund options, the first option is actually what I'm asking for fiscal year 17. So that's the level services. Option 2 is just an increase in salaries and not an increase in expenses. And what we would have to do is I would have to potentially use state aid to pay for the increases in those line items I had requested. The option 3 is no increases in salary but an increase in the expenses. And then the option 4, which is the last option, is just the same amount as fiscal year 16, which would keep us above our certification level.
Would do what?
It would keep us above our certification level, which is from the state. So we have to increase an average of 2.5% in over 3 years. So that's why that if we keep that amount, we can be certified and we can borrow. We have borrowing privileges from other networks.
I thought option 4 says not enough to pay MVLC.
So you don't have enough in your state account to pay those, right? Is that?
I would rather not use my state aid to do that, but it is, I can do that.
You could.
We could.
What do you normally use the state aid for?
With state aid, I usually use it, for this year, what I've used it for was we just actually had a new website design. So we took the money out of there to pay for the website design company.
Okay.
Usually for programs, promotional materials, repairs that we don't expect to actually happen. So we just had our backflow preventer that actually had to be replaced this year. So the water department had come by and had to inspect it, and we had to have that repaired.
So you get how much? About $10,000 from the state?
Yes, that's what we've been getting.
So this would take about 5 out of it.
Yes.
Give or take a penny or two. Okay. So there are no one-time charges in here. These are all budget. These are all line item increases. You know, by the nature of them, it looks like so. Okay. Any other questions? We'll let them study it for a minute here, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
That's it, everybody's in. I think, thank you for this. This at least gives us something, if we really have to do this,
Yeah.
that we have something we can look at and see what the impact is, so that's very helpful. I guess that's it. I think, yeah, everybody's happy.
Thank you.
Well, as happy as we can be.
We're content with the answers.
Yeah, yeah. Jimmy, what do you? Park and Rec.
What number are we? 16. Here we go. That's not gonna happen, Wayne. That's silly. Look how big the print is, thanks.
We hit the donuts from there, I think that was a smart move, huh?
Yes, very smart.
I bought a boatload of fruit. You were not gonna tell me what I think. But anyway, you never know. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Richard Abraham was supposed to be here, but he's not making it.
Oh, okay.
But did you all got the spreadsheet?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we did.
Okay, excuse me.
Spreadsheet.
Just explain to them any differences.
Yeah, there's
Sure, sure. So this, I guess I'm gonna go over the two main differences. We're asking for a service increase from 25,000 to 25,227 to 27,980. That's for a couple reasons. One is we expect to have more usage. We're gonna, and also we need to, Peter Durkee, we usually lease a lawnmower for Peter Durkee when he needs one. And as a result of that, he mows the park and rec fields as a trade-off for that. We found out.
Right.
We found out in around 2006 that with the increase in the mower, that we could actually do both amount of his work and our work in the same man-hours as if he had the old mower. So he took over mowing our fields, but every 3 or 4 years we purchased the lawnmower for him. And it ends up being just good for him and it's good for us. Now, the last time we purchased a lawnmower for him was in 2008.
Wow.
So that lawnmower
Wow.
that lawnmower has worked for 8 years, which is a lot. It's every day, a lot of,
Yeah.
you know. So he's begging for a new lawnmower at this point. So
that's a
It's
potential
the
for
last-
one
I'm looking
time,
for
I would
Peter.
think, even though.
So what we do is we lease that off for
Oh, you
4 years.
lease it?
Every 4 years, we'll pay 3,000.
Oh, okay.
The total, the lawnmower's expensive, it's like
Practically.
$12,000, but you know, like I said, it goes for 8 years.
Oh, okay.
And we
Oh, so
will-
that's why you have the 5 there?
You need 5 up front rather than 3.
I don't have one.
I'm sorry, you had,
It goes a different.
At the bottom
Yeah,
of your.
5850 equipment lease mower.
yes, I'm
It's
sorry.
5, 3, and 3.
Well, it was, we were looking at 5-3, right? The
page
first
right
year's
there.
5, and then it goes 3.
Oh,
and
okay.
3.
All
It
right.
went just to the
Three.
next page.
Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't find it either.
So just to be specific, that's lease to own,
That's at least all.
so to put dollar out at the end or something?
And it's the same lawnmower he purchased in 2000, and it's no different than, it seems, he has a,
Yeah, it works.
Is there any trade-in value for the old one?
yeah, we had a discussion of the park and rec as well, but I think he's got a backup, there's a backup situation too, that he'd like to use that one as the backup. If he breaks down, it's kind of difficult, because he's mowing every day to, could he go out and lease something else? Yeah, he probably could, but it just.
But you're keeping that as probably a more cost-effective.
Well, I mean, it's something to bring up to Peter. I don't know if it's, what its trade-in value is after being 8 years, but I think it might be more valuable to him as a,
Yeah, as a backup, yeah.
but,
Trade-in's probably only gonna be 500 to 1,000, if that.
You can't imagine, it's 8 years
Yeah.
used.
Yeah, it's probably that.
Every day.
Yeah, not much life left.
What fields encompass Park and Rec?
West Street, American Legion Park, it used to be the Harry Murch Park and the American Legion Park here we used to mow as well. That was on our budget, I guess, before Peter took it over. And we also now have East Main Street we're going to be mowing.
Isn't it something? up
Little's
there?
Hill.
Little's Hill, yeah.
And, I think, and I don't know, yeah, I think that's it. I think the common down in, Parish Road area, I'm not sure if we mow that as part of our budget prior to Peter taking this over as well.
And the rail trails are coming.
Yes, I'm sorry, and the rails trails are coming. Peter's also, we talk about the second mower, I mean, Peter's gonna have the expense of mowing that as well at some point. I'm not sure. He's doing some mowing now, in certain sections, but.
Do we know when the rail trail's coming?
Yeah, but he's still mowing, right, well,
No,
the money's.
when is the trail opening?
Right.
2020, isn't it?
2020, somewhere between there.
Do we have an anticipated budget per year, what's gonna cost us?
I don't have that answer.
No.
You had one answer, not two.
I would get,
Pretty
the
good.
answer probably is no, yeah.
Let it go.
Well, that should all go into
Al,
our
but
long-term.
the other added increase, which is the other main discussion, is the increase in hours.
Right.
At some point. So what happens, we have a maintenance man who's really a Monday through Friday, and then everybody really shows up on Saturday and Sunday. We get a lot of people using the Beacon Park on Saturday and Sunday, and we need more hours for that. We also don't have a lifeguard. We used to have at least swimming lessons down there. Now, we held off the last couple of years because we had problems with the water, but for the last 3 years, all our readings have been under 15, 20 in the bacteria counts. So they've been really good. We haven't had any problems with the water quality. And that would have been a problem having lessons if you had to close the beach for a week or two, but we haven't closed the beach now in a couple of years. And we made some changes that we saw that reflection. We removed some of the sand from the shore, made some, so ever since that was done, we've had good water quality. So we want to have lifeguard lessons, and we also want to have some representation of a lifeguard at the weekends. We figure that with probably 2 hours Monday through Friday, and then maybe 5 hours on Saturday and Sunday.
But that's not reflected in the budget totals we have now.
Yeah,
is
it's
it?
actually,
This
it's
is-
actually increased, it's increase in.
It isn't, it's not in the electronic one that I have.
Oh,
I
it's
have
in mine.
Is it?
personal services, salaries and wages.
31,000 up from 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, it isn't on the page that I have, it's on there. I may have copied the wrong page. Okay.
So how much would it be without those added in? It just.
Be the 15,824? Or did you put the 1.5?
Excuse me?
Did you put the 1.5% in?
I got
So 15,300, is that what you're talking about?
But it would be if they're 15.
7,200 for the maintenance and 8,100 for the lifeguard?
I've got a sheet here,
Without the
7280 for the
1.5%.
maintenance, and lifeguard is 7350. Is
We
that,
all get different numbers.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one has 8,100 for the lifeguard.
So what is that again, 72?
now I know why Richard sent me.
This also
Guess he
says,
did the numbers?
it also says 6 hours a day, and you said 5, so maybe that's.
Okay, see, I don't have that in this, but still. I don't know why I don't have that. Okay. You know, that's bad though, that means we're up by another 15 more than I
Yep.
thought.
He didn't include an increase.
He didn't do
Is
1.5.
that a revenue generating thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, we used to, it's not, it usually gets,
Some work.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the total revenue, but probably $500 to $1,000, I would assume. It's usually $20 or less back in the old days. We haven't done lifeguard lessons now for 10 or 15 years.
And that's reflected in the number already, like deducted?
No, it's
No.
not reflected in the number as far as if we bring in any money. We also want to open up the concession stand up some, so some of the maintenance out increases is to have the concession stand open a couple hours too.
Mike, where would the money go if they did charge for swimming lessons?
I'm just trying to figure that out. Do you have a revolving fund?
We do.
That's where it would go.
Okay.
We also hope to have some beach sticker possibly, but that usually only adds 500 to
Yeah, that's
1,000
not
as well
much.
too. And we end up spending $250 on the stickers, so it's usually, a lot of people want that, but it's not a huge
It's really
money
not
maker.
gonna do much for you.
And the problem is too, is now we have to have someone to take those, it used to be that Dave Showers at Mobile, used to, people come in and get them, and it becomes, now how are you gonna do that? You're not gonna go to the town clerk, or you're gonna,
Right.
Yeah.
it becomes, everybody's suggested it, but it's sometimes more work than it's worth
Yeah.
in some respect.
So how much money you have in your revolving account?
I think,
Not much, huh?
I don't know.
Oh,
Not much. Well, no, we may have 3 or 4 grand. I don't think we have much more than that.
okay, all right.
Are we adopting a sticker program down there? Is that what I just heard?
No, we've had a sticker
been
program.
some
People have
talk-
wanted us to re-adopt the sticker program. It becomes a lot of problems to do that.
And what are those problems?
First of all, you got people from out of town using it, and it's a park, so they can use the park. Right, so now you're gonna have a sticker program that someone from out of town will have to come and use, get a sticker. It's on the Rails Trail, the Rails Trail Committee put that parking lot as a access point to the Rails Trail. So if someone's trying to do that, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna get the police to ticket them? And then you got people going from games from out of town that's gonna use the facility for the games.
It does sound too complicated.
It's
to
very
worry
complicated down there now, and there's too many, you can't restrict people from using the park. It just,
Yeah.
And where you're gonna
You
buy
can't
them.
restrict people from using the pond either. It's a state water.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't charge anybody to use the pond.
Oh, you could just, fundamentally, you're charging them to park.
Right, but now if it's a public access for the rail trail, you can't charge for that either.
You're right, yeah.
There is a sign that says residents only, though.
It does. Unenforceable.
I know that.
Nobody pays
Chairman,
attention to it.
those signs I asked they take those signs down. They're not enforceable. They
Oh.
covered them over the summer. I'm sure the winter is taking its task on the tape, but they're gonna fix that.
What about paying for parking?
Who's gonna?
Who's gonna enforce it?
Then you'd
Well,
have
you
to pay
certainly
somebody
gotta
to
hire
collect the
someone to-
money.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cost to doing it, but, no, just an idea.
Well, especially where it's just a weekend, really. I think that's all we would really need to. Well, look, I've been a voice that something has to be done down there. You know, everyone. It's getting. But
yeah.
it's becoming a problem. I have voiced it in many different areas, and we've developed a really good space, for people to go down and enjoy, and it's becoming a problem more than anything. And it's only going to get worse because the people who are causing the problem are now, and generally they're out of towners. Let's face it, they're actually now telling other friends about it, and now more trouble is going to be heading down there. And I don't think that's anything any of us.
Andover's having the same issues. I mean, but I don't see a way of avoiding that.
We start charging for parking, that might be something that would, tell people, all right, we're gonna go elsewhere, during the weekend.
Yeah.
Because during the week, let's say, you'll get some stragglers in there, but the weekend is the big time, and none of them wanna pay for parking. And if you have a sticker, and if it's a Georgetown resident, they can come in for free. If you don't have a sticker, you have to pay $10, for parking.
Yeah, you can't. Oh well, I know Andover tried that. They had a day use sticker. It was different than the town residents, and they were taken to court over that. This is cool because you have to offer the same rate as out of towners as in towners.
Yeah, to me, it just sounds like it's too much trouble.
I mean, something the town should look into. I agree,
Yeah.
but I don't have a solution for you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as, it's not our responsibility.
It's an enforcement issue, if you ask me, and we don't have the funds to support more enforcement down there.
Right.
That's the
yes.
challenge.
Yeah.
I think one of the things with the lifeguard, they would control the place down there. There should be no swearing. There should be no. Huh? I mean, there's people swearing and all these the rules.
Lifeguard can't do that.
Well,
And with
But
the
just by him
with the
being
type
there.
of clientele that Joe's talking about, you're not going to put a lifeguard in that position.
No.
Well, I go to the beach with a lifeguard, I'm afraid to open a beer on the beach.
Right. Just him being
have
there.
it.
Yeah, but you're not talking about the same type of situation.
We've called the police have been called a couple
You may
times.
you may not think what Joe is talking about. It's not the same thing.
No, the police have been called a couple times. Had to remove people.
rough top.
Lifeguard just called.
Yeah.
We saw a situation. They wouldn't resolve it. They called the police. They were removed. So that just is visible.
Yeah.
Mr.
David.
Chairman, this is an issue, a hot button issue.
You're right, yeah, and it's really not a FinCom
Right,
issue.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're gonna have a major problem down there.
Really?
A major issue where the town gets involved in some type of lawsuit because people want to protect it down there. I can see it firsthand, is actually involved in an incident down there. It's gonna be it's not, again, it's not if, it's when. We're gonna have a major problem down there.
Selectman Stearns, I would respectfully disagree with you. I think it is a FinCom issue.
I didn't say it wasn't
because of the
FinCom
fact that
issue.
it could be a revenue generator, but more so, we could actually be spending more money from our budget from, protecting situations like that. We might have, our police details might have to, sit down, might be extra detail during the summer, which will cost the town and will become a FinCom issue.
What is a detail per hour right now?
$42 an hour.
Thank you.
So that's a direct.
We suggest,
As long as you're working directly for the town of Georgetown, if it's a private vendor, it's a different rate, 51.
So if we were to put a detail down there on weekends,
Well, I think my mission would be, is not to detail the park department in our town to death, is try and incorporate some type of unified patrol down there so that we're saving money by doing that with officers on duty versus assigning a specific detail at that rate. It would be cheaper overall to have a strategy versus just assigning detail.
Yeah, if it's raining, you're gonna have a detail sitting down there in the rain. It's better, I mean,
Well,
truthfully,
that's the point.
we've told the maintenance man, any problems, just call the police. He noticed the problem, he say, hey, look, you guys mind? No, we're not doing that, okay? And he walks away and he,
so how many weeks are we talking about? Say we put a detail down there for, just thinking outside the box, detail for Saturday and Sunday for how many weeks?
12, usually it's June, starts, kids get out of school June 20th to August 31st,
So we're
so.
talking about $12,000.
But just
That's for a
weekend.
full-time detail there, right?
That's for 16 hours, right?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the problem was addressed, well, at least identified last year with the Board of Selectmen, my office, and the Park and Rec. There was a Board of Selectmen meeting, Town Council was there, and it's a regulatory issue as opposed to an enforcement issue. Clearly, the Georgetown Police will do anything if there's a criminal act that occurs down there. It was access, which was a concern concerning who could use a park, which was answered and identified. And then most importantly, an update on the regulatory guidelines for people who use that area. And then third, how we want to monitor that. So we're in process with that. It's slow. We have our volunteers and they're doing the best that they can. I'm trying to get the paid personnel to the table so that we can maybe move it forward for this year. But it takes potential bylaw changes. If that's the case, regulatory guidelines, authorities of Park and Rec, and then looking at the overall enforcement coverage, permitting. I think that the town has to re-explore the permitting process with that particular venue so that if in fact it's being used, and Jim is aware of it as he's the chair, concerning private events and notification on private events. If it's a private event, what are their parameters using that facility? So it's very complicated, and I think we've proven that just in about 15 minutes. So I would just, I think police presence, as Mr. Surface said, obviously is a final solution. Employees down there, someone who's working there who has a say and potentially can notify the police if it's a problem. I'm down there every weekend on a bicycle. No one knows who I am. I watch the activity. I report back. I've had officers undercover down there. I have some nice young officers. They don't even look like the police. So it's nice to put them down there. A lot of people know who I am, so I stick out some new faces and no one knows what's going on down there. So I'm getting reports and I'm trying to put that together so that when we meet as a town, Board of Selectmen, Park and Rec, police, fire for EMS and so forth, I think we can solve this problem.
It's not an immediate budget problem for
I
us
have
right
a-
now. I guess
I
is
do
where
have a
I am.
question.
It's-
Well, Chief, from a budget standpoint, do you think it would make a difference if we allotted a small fraction amount of money to make, a noticeable sign, at least saying police monitors or something like that?
Yes, I've made some suggestions to the board concerning how the signage should be pursuant to regulation. The gentleman here says about the police take notice signs. From a legal standpoint, we had them covered. Didn't take them down because there was another wording on that sign that was important for the park. We do not take notice for residents only down there. We just don't have that authority. But signage with regard to closing that beach, dawn to dusk does not exist because of lighting, because of activities down there, because there's a public way on the south side of the parking lot. You know, there's a lot of factors, but we can fix that. I think that the attorney had recommended specifically to start with your regulations, fix your regulations, and then you can move forward for potential bylaw changes and things like that. And then that would include putting up the signs where the police can enforce. You cannot enforce dusk to dawn trespassing if there's only one old sign that's been down there since I've been a kid. There has to be signage on every possible locale, including very, very clear distinctive signage on the beach and in the parking lot. Then, if someone's down there at 2:30 in the morning, my officers would have enforceability with regard to trespassing. That's the only law that exists, I should say bylaw, for Georgetown that turns it into a criminal action is the trespass regulation. The police have right of arrest outside the purview of when that place is closed. You're not supposed to be there. Other than that, there are no enforcement guidelines under the regulation for law enforcement. It's under the Park and Rec. Those are the things that we need to fix.
Okay, so that's gonna be a longer process, as you said, Chief. So in
Yeah.
the meantime, I actually just took it, it's not 12,000.
Immediacy, I agree.
Right. I'm looking at $8,000 for 12 weeks of police detail as a one-time expense, taking, maneuver some money around. Would that help start to be a deterrent if we had a police detail down there Saturday and Sundays?
Yes, it would, and I think that what I would do is.
Yeah, I'm doing it as a bridge to get, because obviously there's a bigger problem, but the immediate problem can be.
I like the temporary solution with the fact that I would work with the Park and Rec and their employees to determine what is their active hour span so that we don't unnecessarily have people down there when we do not need them versus when there is a calendar. I'm sure there's a calendar and some activity that we can drive. Plus, I can supplement with our patrol staff during those times.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking a real officer as opposed to expecting a lifeguard or expecting a maintenance person. In the meantime, to get us from here to there.
I think police presence down there will solve your problem. Yep.
I'm thinking officer, if people go down there every weekend and they see there is a police presence and they don't particularly care for policemen, maybe they'll go find someplace else to go.
A lot of people don't care for the police today.
I'll still go.
You just won't bring your beer.
Maybe rather than a detail, maybe an additional patrol officer for those particular times, which would be less expensive, rather than having a detail at $42 an hour. Maybe supplement some more money in the police budget for those 12 weeks. So it's a regular patrol, reserve officer that's in a car that's, not standing there, all day, but, every half hour.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's something that is, something that's not part of, that's what I was looking at as a detail, but something that is, it's a one-time expense. It's not part of the budget, it's a one-time expense per se of taking it elsewhere.
Because I like Joe's idea, because when word of mouth gets around that, we can't go down there and party and drink anymore.
Right.
And, because there's a police officer there, then I think it'll stop a lot of that element that's coming in to just be down there and go watch.
Well, we've installed video surveillance cameras down there. I don't think we have a sign posted that says that.
It's not at the beach, not at the waterfront, it's just at the regular playground and, right?
You had a comment?
Well, I was just thinking how this is gonna work, because remember, we have some days.
Too, because people would know there's.
Some days you're expecting weather to be good and it is.
Guys, can we have one conversation?
But if the police had a budget to draw money out, and they knew it was a hot wave, and they had a police officer who wanted to work, to be able to go down there and work that day that's gonna be hot. I'm gonna go down, I know there's gonna be people down there. If it's a rainy day, Don can say, why are you going down there? There's no one's gonna be down there, it's gonna rain tomorrow.
Put them on the patrol.
Put the money in the budget so that the police officer has the time to draw on a Saturday or Sunday, hey, I wanna work down there, and the money's there and available for him to go down and cover that shift. And it's up to the discretion of Don if he says, if it's 110 degrees, yeah, you're gonna be down there, there's gonna be 200 people on the waterfront. But if it's not a good day, he says, well, I don't think it's worth it for you to be down there today.
Well, why don't we just come up with some options and then you guys make a decision.
Can I, what are the maintenance hours?
It's varied, but he's about 25 to 30 hours a week, Monday through Friday. One of the problems is he doesn't work Saturday and Sunday, and that's when we have a lot of maintenance
That's when you really need someone there.
And that's one of the increases we want is to explore getting someone on a weekend.
So you would get an additional person?
Getting an additional half person, which is, so it's another 20 hours a week, so it's a half. I'm not 100% sure that we need that much, but we need additional coverage for weekends, at least 3 or 4 hours. Remember, the problem was actually the park is better in Monday through Friday, better looking Monday through Friday than the
Right,
weekends.
exactly.
I mean, I go down there sometimes in the Saturday morning, try to clean the waterfront. But if I'm not there or somebody in the park doesn't cover it, it's not getting done. And that's it's a shame, because that's when most of the people in town are down there, you know.
Why is the maintenance only Monday through Friday? Because they just won't do the weekends, or?
Yeah, I mean, we have a change. We had a maintenance person for the last 15 years who's now, he probably won't be continuing. He's just gotten too much. But that was the agreement with him originally. It's hard to get someone for just those 16 weeks or something to come in and work and then go. We have had luck with teachers sometimes, so, you know,
Right.
sometimes that's really the only
Yeah,
available
part-time,
person
yeah.
that says, oh, you know, I got the summer off, I can make some extra money and be down the park. But it was difficult to find someone to work that coverage. And we may be looking for somebody, because unfortunately our man that we've had the last 12 or 13 years is not capable anymore. And he told me I'm not throwing that out
Right,
there.
no, okay.
This isn't the first he's heard of it.
Yeah.
How will that position be posted?
Through the town.
Through the town.
Through the town? I think that's also something, the social media thing would certainly help. I mean, there are plenty of people out there that could probably use the work, and that would do that.
Yes.
There's probably a lot of people that would want
just don't
the
know
weekend
the
work
positions
that.
there.
I'm not saying, I just found out
There's
about
some
this 2
extra
days
money.
ago, so it isn't something Mike and I have discussed. And
Right.
he just got out of surgery, and I said, well, I'll give you a couple of days, but he was pretty confident he wasn't coming
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
Okay, I guess that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
He had no idea he was gonna be sitting that out.
I know.
Made Richard.
Try my break.
You want a coffee? Oh, we have to have a
duck out.
coffee break.
Duck out.
Yeah.
Make a motion to temporarily
Grumpy
adjourn.
Wait, is that because you're so old? Because your daughter's
Recess.
30 years old?
Recess, excuse me, recess?
I love recesses.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.